The other Warhammer videos were about me showing off what I had done. This is more about future plans. So obviously completing the rest of this box would be the future plan. Right now I'm done with the Guardian Defenders, putting them together. I've clipped out what is going to be a slightly modified Farseer with some melee weapons. That doesn't change its rules at all. It's still going to be a Farseer. It's just going to be me trying out some stuff. It'll be a little bit of a kit bash. Kit bash is something where you take stuff from different models and put them together to create something new. This is a pretty simple kit bash in that it's just going to be different weapons. I clipped out two weapons from the Wraithblades kit that I didn't use, the sword and the axe, and I'm gonna see what that looks like. Maybe it looks silly, I don't know. Maybe I will flip the colors on this one so that the lilac is on the helmet more than the green. We'll see. I've got that other Wraith Lord that I have clipped out and we'll put together. I think I'm gonna do the smaller guns up top and the bigger guns being held and have him not have a sword at all. Yes, that means at a certain point if I play against someone very serious, I will not be able to claim that he can do any melee attacks with the sword, but I haven't even played a game, so what me worry. The Wind Rider jet bikes are a little intimidating to me right now, but I haven't touched them in a while, so I've got one clipped out and ready to be sanded, and maybe that one will be put together and it won't be as intimidating as I think it will be. So with that completed, it gives me kind of a balanced army with some heavy hitters in the Wraith Guard, so a couple walkers that can deal some melee damage, the Farseer with the Guardian Defenders to do points and spells and other shenanigans, and the Wind Riders to get some speed and move around the map, and the Warwalker with some artillery and some sneakiness. So kind of a balanced army. Right now in December of 2024, I am kind of going through baby's first rules change, in that some of the core rules of the army are changing heading into its codex release. The codex being the book that, how do I explain the codex? It gives you a lot of variety of ways to play and then a bunch of lore and stories and paint guides and whatever, but most people are concerned with the rules. Essentially, they give a lot of varieties of ways to play as opposed to one way to play, essentially giving you a lot of different detachments or modes that you can play the army with. Before a codex comes out, typically an army has one mode, and as they roll into the codex, not only are their detachment rules changing, the modes changing, but the core army rule, the thing that always happens with the army, regardless of which mode they're playing, is also changing. So that means that the Farseer, the Guardian Defenders, and the Wraith Lords all had bonuses or abilities that tied into this core rule. So it'll be interesting to see how they change. Curious to see that. So we'll see what the future lies in that regard. When it comes to completing the 2,000 point version of this army, the third quarter essentially would be another group of Wraith Guards, the Spirit Seer, which I already have and have painted, and then a couple characters that essentially turn my army into a Ynarri army. Ynarri, as I explained in a previous video, essentially is a whole storyline thing, but on the game it allows you to play the Dark Elves and the Light Elves in the same army, assuming that you have this unit in your army, this being Yvraine. Yvraine is an elf lady with a wicked sword and a cat. It's a pretty cool looking model. Like, the moment I saw it, I was like, yeah, that one. I'm gonna get that one. I'm gonna go down that route. So, Yvraine doesn't play well with all aspects of the Eldari army, but it's not anything I was that interested in, so I'm okay with that. So I got Yvraine, and I got the Visarch, her silent bodyguard guy. They're both kind of strong melee characters. Like I didn't expect to get strong melee stuff with Ynarri, but in doing the Ynarri route, I kind of stumbled upon that. Yvraine can actually be a pretty, at the rules as currently constructed, she can actually be a pretty big, tough, a leader of a pretty big, tough unit of infantry. That's not in my army plan at this point in time. I'm mostly getting her to do the light elf, dark elf thing, but I guess you could say that's coming. She intimidates me in that I don't know how that's gonna work. She has a lot of little fiddly bits. She has a lot of things that could be difficult to paint. So, and I'm interested in her. So, unlike say the Warwalker, I want to make sure that one looks good. So I imagine that might be, hopefully I'll be ready by the time I finally get to her and the Visarch. The last quarter of my army, to make it 2,000 points, would be the Drukahri part, or the Dark Elf part. The part that, the reason you get Yvraine in order to play around with the Dark Eldar. The Drukahri Combat Patrol, which I don't have, would be something I would want to purchase, preferably before their codex comes out, because as the codexes have come out, they've kind of replaced those combat patrols with different ones, and usually not as good. The Drukahri Combat Patrol right now has 2 boats, so I got a Raider and a Ravager, which I believe are the same kit. So you could have 2 Raiders, 2 Ravagers, or you can magnetize them so they could be both. I would probably want to do that. I think, and then there's a 5-man melee infantry squad, a leader, and a 10-man range squad. Can't remember the names off the top of my head, but the things to go in the boats. So all those things look like pretty good for a Drukahri army, especially the started one. People have actually recommended that box very much for Drukahri players. People will get multiple versions of that box and pretty much make an army out of that. That's how good the value is for those things. But the bows look cool. That'd pretty much be the reason to do it, and everything else is kind of a bonus on the side. I'm not totally sure what to do with the color scheme of that Drukahri army. I think I'm going to play around with having some kind of dark coloration, and then the highlights being those colors that are in my army, the mint green, the lilac, the orange. I'm going to test that out on some models that aren't Warhammer models in order to see if that looks just like the goofiest thing in the world, or it actually ties in pretty well. I expect the Drukahri to be kind of a step up in my painting abilities, which I guess is the point. I've seen a lot of really cool things people do with the boats. Sometimes people will have more of a drab coloration or a rusty color thing, like this is like derelict wreck out in space. Sometimes people will make them like freaking nebulas, like just beautiful space motif. So I would like to do the beautiful space motif. So that's definitely going to need some testing, but that's a 2,000 point army right there, and I should be playing games at that point in time to justify all this stuff. But there's other things beyond that. There's more Drukahri units to kind of make it a heavier light elf, dark elf mix. There's other things that could go with Yvraine. There's an entire clown sub-faction of the Eldari army. Don't ask. They're psychotic clown theater nerds. They haven't made any models yet, but there's some kind of elves out there somewhere that are riding dinosaurs or something. I'm sure at some point they'll milk that cash cow. But those are the plans for the future. If you enjoyed these videos, thank you. Hopefully somebody does, and I'm not just entertaining myself. But hey, that's kind of half the point of a YouTube page, right?